With TSN hockey analyst and former Vancouver Canuck Frank Corrado. Frankie, did you ever have to submit to the relentless questioning of J-Pat in a post game?
I think J-Pat always took it easy on me. I don't think there was ever anything that I did that was like you expected more out of me. I think you expected the bare minimum, and sometimes you may have gotten it.
and you delivered on and off the ice, so
Yeah, I
that's why
think
we loved you. Yeah.
John Shorthouse had a great quote one time where he's like, "You are going to give us your one goal a year, and it's okay, and you're good for your one goal." So, thanks, Shorty.
And that's when Shorty gets to say, it's been 57 games since Corrado scored back in
Yes.
October against.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you ever on the do something list?
I'm not sure the do something list existed.
Yeah.
back in Frankie's
You may
time
predate
here
the
in
do
Vancouver,
something
so.
list. Anyways, Canucks were doing something last night against the Penguins. Pretty good game. Not sure how much you caught of it, Frank, but JT Miller right now. Wow. Unbelievable hockey he's playing.
Yeah.
And the thing is his confidence is visible. You can see it on the ice. He's trying things and getting to places that an unconfident guy lacking confidence wouldn't get to. What have been your observations about JT against Boston and
Listen,
Pittsburgh this week?
I think you hit the nail on the head there. And just like, it's very telling when Rick Tocchet has a post game kind of presser and he talks about the team. And it might not be the most positive towards the team, but he really makes a point to single out JT Miller for all the right reasons. I think that speaks volumes to where Miller's game is at, where Tocchet thinks it's at. And I just think like it's just been this build all season long where he came into the season with this little bit of a I want to prove it to myself, I want to prove it to everyone else that I can play against top lines. I'm not the guy that they showed on Saturday night last year, doing the straight leg back check kind of stuff. And like it just seems like he's taken everything personal in the right way, though. You can take things personal and suck out about it. And there's players in the league, one in California that does that a little too much these days, wearing number 80. But I just think like for JT Miller, he's first on the puck, and if he's not first on the puck, he's winning a battle, and he's in a lot of the right spots on the ice. It's so important to like not to just get to the spots, but get to the spots on time. Like move your feet away from the puck, which I think he's doing a much better job of, and it's so important. And the more you move off the puck, the more you're going to have the puck, and like the confidence is a real thing. Like last night on that breakaway, you could tell like it's head up, and that's a shot with some conviction. Takes a second before he wants to shoot that. That wasn't just I got to get this shot off. That was precise, accurate, like a sniper in the army. Like that's what it felt like. And his game's been good all year long, but it's been really good lately.
And what I love about it as well, Frankie, is when they need him most. Like they blow a 2-goal lead, it is 2-2 Pittsburgh, and here's JT answering shortly thereafter, reestablishing the lead. Tell us what it's like on the bench when you have that guy who's basically saying, no, not on my watch.
Like it's funny because so I played a little bit with Pittsburgh, and of course they're the team that's in there last night. And I can recall my very first game with them. We're playing in Buffalo, and we're getting caved in the first period to the point where like Mike Sullivan's coming down the bench and he's looking at guys and he's like, "Are we effing kidding ourselves here? Like, what are we doing, right?" And we get a power play late in that first period. Sure enough, Crosby goes end to end and does the one-handed goal. Like you've seen it a million times on the highlight reels. It's the one-handed backhand goal. And I remember the bench just being like, "Oh, what a relief." And I looked at my D partner, it was Ian Cole that game. And he looks at me, he goes, "That's just Sid, man. That's what he does." And there was like a belief in the group there that it's like, all right, there's a guy on your team that maybe when things aren't going well, he's going to bring it and he can find a moment like that. And for Miller to have that moment last night, it's obviously, it's great, it's important, but um, now Vancouver's in the point where you look at a small situation like that and you think, what does that mean come playoff time? Like, does that mean they're going to be playing against Vegas, or they're going to be playing against Edmonton, and it's going to be, McDavid's hemming you in your own zone, or Vegas is rolling all four lines? Can there be that guy that can find something for you like that? And I think it's a testament to where the Canucks are, where they've put themselves this year, that we can start having those conversations about the team and not just, hey, JT Miller's played really well. Do you think we can get a team around him next year that can help out? No, now it's like, okay, can that come in handy come playoff time? Because that's right around the corner, and everything you're doing right now, from an individual point of view, from a team point of view, is to get ready for that moment. And maybe that's something that he can provide come playoff time.
I'm glad you brought up Tocchet and the name checking of Miller, because it, as a one-off maybe, but this is 2 or 3 times in the last little while. They have 1 win in their last 6 games here. This isn't by accident. And so I read it the same way you did, that while he's not wrong in, praising JT Miller, but it feels like an appeal to a handful of others. And I think we know where the list starts. Are you surprised at all that as JT has dug in here and brought his game to another level, that it hasn't sort of inspired some of his teammates along the way? I mean, JT can't do it all by himself. It's pretty clear with the fact they have 1 win in their last 6 hockey games.
I know. It's interesting. Like, you can be inspired as much as you want. Sometimes you just don't have it, and that's probably the case for a few guys right now. And it's hard not to think about like the absence of Dakota Joshua right now in the lineup and what that third line was doing for the team. Like, I felt like that line was facilitating so much for the group. And like, and we talked about this previously, where that line would go on the ice and right away they're in the offensive zone. They didn't spend a lot of time playing in that murky gray area where nothing was happening. And so now you lose that element. And now there's other players that don't get the benefit of that setup line. And I think we're seeing that a little bit, and it's carried over into other elements. Like, the power play has been a little bit of a mishmash. And I know the power play gets one last night with the 2 balanced units, but that's weird. That's unorthodox. Like, it's got an odd look to it. And I think at 5-on-5, the same can be said for a few players right now, where it's like, okay, Miller's really going. Is there some guys that need to kind of follow suit? Yes, it probably happens sooner rather than later. But it is a little bit of a stretch here, where you have some individuals giving you really good performances, and you have some that aren't quite where they were earlier in the year. And like we just talked about with Miller, it's okay for now. Still first place in the division, still first place in the NHL. You just think about, okay, are we going to get this team peaking at the right time? Is everyone's game going to come around when you need it most? And that's the most important thing, is working towards that point.
Well, one guy whose game hasn't come around yet is Elias Lindholm. They paid a pretty package to get this guy from Calgary. Frank, you have moved NHL teams. You've picked up your life and moved to other cities. I cut him some slack. I mean, 8 of his first 10 were out on the road, the All-Star weekend. Like, there's been a lot going on in his life. I get that. But this guy is a quality National Hockey Leaguer. We know that. Scores 2 in his debut. He had the other 2-goal game, but last night got absolutely caved on his line with Connor Garland and Arshdeep Bains. How long can we give him this out of, he's a newcomer, he's adjusting, he's still finding his way, and at what point is it just go time and be a little more effective?
Well, I think, like, criticism is always going to be valid. There's no player that's above the criticism. With as far as the team goes, he's here now. Like, he's playing. So, whether he has a great night the next game, or a week from now, or 2 weeks from now, that's not going to matter in the grand scheme of things, because of what you acquired him for. Like, you acquired him for the playoffs, and that's always going to be the bigger picture, the end goal in mind when we think about his game. But with that being said, you can't just flip a switch. Like, it's almost disrespectful to the league and the integrity of the league to think that you can show up come playoff time, haven't played your best hockey, and say, yeah, I'm just going to turn it on now. Like, I'm really built for this moment. No, it doesn't work that way. Like, the saying, confidence is earned. Like, you can say you have confidence for sure, but if you don't build it, and we've talked about this a lot, if you don't build that little highlight reel in your head where you've made the good plays, you've won the faceoffs at critical moments, you've scored a few goals, like you've been on the right side of the puck defensively. If you don't have that, you haven't earned the confidence as much as you tell yourself in your head that you're a confident player. So that's going to be the challenge for him. But he's got time, he's got the skills, he's got the ability. He's just got to do it. And it was interesting, like even going back to that Seattle game, like did we ever get an explanation as to why like Lindholm was on the first power play unit, then Besser was on it, then it was a little bit like mixing those two around on the power play. And now
Well,
you got two spread units.
yeah. Talk had said earlier in the week that sometimes guys need a breather from each other. I mean, the power play was 1 for 29, so I think he was experimenting
Just
some.
chucking stuff at the wall.
Frankie,
Well, it was just weird in game because it was in game and it was like there's Lindholm, then there's a face off, and there's Besser. And I don't know. It's
yeah, no, Hronek started on the power play that night, and then by the fourth power play, he was out of there.
Last night, there were moving parts on the power play. Höglander didn't see any morning skate power play, right? And he was, anyways. Tocchet has said he's the center, Lindholm. So, we thought he'd be a great fit when the trade was made, both as a power play guy and as an offensive player who doesn't demand the puck. He's happy to be the guy off the puck. And we thought, okay, with him and Pettersson, that could make a really good fit here. Is it a positional thing, Frank? Like, are you concerned about where he fits positionally? Because Jeff's point yesterday was that's a hell of a lot to give up for a third line center if you're going to stack him at center below Pettersson and Miller.
I always thought he was a center. I always see him in that regard. And yeah, if you're going to have Miller, Pettersson, Lindholm, you're deep down the middle, but like we've talked about in the past, that third line is really good. So at some point Joshua's coming back, and I would imagine, because I would do this, as soon as that is available to you to have that third line fully intact, I want to see that. I want that like yesterday. So he's not going to be your third line center. So he probably has to be. Are you going to push Pettersson to the wing? Are you going to push him like Lindholm on the wing? Like that's the question now. And like,
well, who would you prefer, Frank? Who would you prefer seeing in the middle between Pettersson and Lindholm?
I would prefer Pettersson in the middle of the ice. I just think he's a more natural fit. Like for me, he's more of a distributor. I think like the way Pettersson can carry the puck up the ice and kind of weave his way through. I want him in the middle of the ice. I don't want him sequestered to the wall. I think like Lindholm is not as dynamic as Pettersson, so I think I would want Pettersson in the middle of the ice. But now you're taking Lindholm out of his comfort zone, let's say. But the thing is, you're gonna play with good players regardless. So you should be able to to be comfortable in that situation. And as far as faceoffs go, you'll probably take faceoffs when you're on your strong side. So in that moment, when you're off a faceoff, you will be the centerman until you make a switch. And a lot of the times, like the first player back into the defensive zone, that guy's playing center. It's not necessarily the natural centerman. So until there's a switch, that's your responsibility to be the low forward. So there are going to be moments in a game where you are assuming the role of a centerman. So it's not so cut and dry that winger, you just stay on the wall and you're up and down and it's a straight line game. There is a little bit of nuance. There's a little bit of gray area. He will find himself in that position, but it's not going to be like, he's not a third line center. And as much as maybe you'd be really deep of a team if he was, it's preventing one of your most effective lines when Joshua comes back from playing together. And I don't think that's conducive for the team.
Look, he has 70 points. The Canucks are first in the overall standings. He's got the inside track for the Norris Trophy. Like, this is not me throwing darts at Quinn Hughes in any way, but as a guy that played that position, like, I don't think his game has been as dynamic since the All-Star break as it was earlier in the season. My question to you is, like, how hard is it in the best league in the world to play 26, 28 minutes a night and keep your game up there all year long?
Well, it's not even that. It is that. Think about how often he has the puck Like for a player like that who has the puck that much on his stick, who has the puck in the offensive zone as much as he does, and it's just there's going to be things that happen when you have the puck that often. It's not always going to be smooth. If you're a guy that doesn't have the puck like me, like when I played, all right, I'm out for a skate and I'm a guy and I just don't want to mess up. And if I played my 15 minutes and nothing happened, high event, that was a good night for me. It's not the case for him. It's high event and it's great when it is because he's so good at driving offense from the back end. But that is part of it. Like there's a mental grind aspect behind knowing for us to be successful, for me to be successful, I'm going to have to make a lot of plays. I'm going to have the puck a lot on my stick and everyone's gunning for you. Everyone knows like you're the one, you're shifty and you're spinning off guys and everyone gets a book on you. With that being said, it has still been an incredible season and he's still been like uber talented at so many different elements of the game and he set the bar so high this season with his play that even if it comes down, a couple notches, you still have to look at it and say, that's pretty damn good. But you kind of know what it can be. And I think that's, we're at the point in the season here where between the All-Star break and the trade deadline, people talk about the dog days. This is another, portion of those dog days where, once the trade deadline hits, there's going to be a little rejuvenation here with the group as far as maybe we made a move or, the GM came in and talked to us and gave us this great speech about how he really believes in our group. And that's around the corner. But right now there's, this is a grind portion of the season for everyone.
Your old partner, Ian Cole, the aforementioned Ian Cole, he was playing 20, 21 minutes a night for the Canucks earlier in the season. Nikita Zadorov gets acquired. Noah Juleson shows himself to be a little more dependable. And those minutes are down now, Frank. He's in the 17, 18-minute range. How much should he be playing the rest of the way? Because he's already been given sort of a maintenance game, if you will, where they moved Juleson in.
And I think if Susie had been healthy, there would have been a little bit more of that somewhere along the line.
But Susie hasn't been able to stay healthy, and so Ian Cole's playing all these minutes. How worried would you be about that going down the stretch and into the playoffs?
Just turned 35 earlier in the month.
Yeah. What's the sweet spot, you think?
I always felt that if you were a guy that maybe played a little bit of special teams, but you played your regular shift at 5-on-5 on the back end, you're probably, depending on the game and the whistles, you're somewhere between 16 to 19, let's say. So I think he's like in a good wheelhouse as far as his time. Like last night, he was 17:53. Like I think that's pretty comfortable. You can get through, 28 shifts pretty well as a guy like that. And another thing for a player like him who's been around a long time, there's probably not going to be a lot of like wasted effort, wasted skating. If you're a younger guy and you're trying to figure out your cadence and your pacing and adjusting to more minutes, less minutes, sometimes you can waste a little bit of energy but I feel like for him, if he's been playing, these kinds of minutes, maybe not as much in Tampa Bay, but when he was in Pittsburgh, like that seemed to be like a regular occurrence for him. That seemed to be a little bit of a sweet spot. It's like, how to play that kind of game. You've played it a million times. You know how quickly you need to get to certain spots on the ice. So I don't really see any concern with it. If it starts to get into the 20, 21, 22, I would say that's probably a little too much. But under 20, between 16 to 19, I think that's a good spot for him. Like, he gives you something. Like he does. Dependable. He's dependable, and he's somewhat underrated with his puck moving ability. He's not just a tree stump back there.
And I think he probably gives you as much off the ice as he gives you on the ice as well, from what we've been able to observe of Ian Cole. Okay, last question here. Who would you most like to see as a Vancouver Canuck between now and trade deadline? All the guys that are out there and available, Frankie.
All the guys that
Pick
are out there.
one that you think's a great fit for the Canucks that you would be excited about that trade.
Okay, I'm just taking a look at our TSN trade bait list. Trade Center, March 8th on TSN.
Oh, look at that. What a pro.
Really?
How's that for a tease?
They're covering trade deadline this year.
And I'll say this, Duthie's got to be getting excited here. We're 9 days away and really not a lot of big fish outside of Lindholm and Monahan.
Don't jinx it for Duthie. Please do not jinx it for him. Who's one player? Now we're just no cap,
Well, within reason.
Within reason.
Of course. Yeah.
Oh man. I just like Tyler Toffoli screams clutch goals to me, doesn't he? Like he was so clutch for Montreal. He's scoring at 5-on-5 this year. He's got a lot of goals, and a lot of them are 5-on-5 goals. Like, isn't that a name, like a scoring winger that you could kind of get behind? And like Ilya Mikheyev has struggled to score goals, and he's playing lower in the lineup. And I know, like, he's got the speed and all that kind of stuff, but I see Tyler Toffoli, and I think of a guy similar to how we just talked about with JT Miller. Shoot with conviction, like shoot like you mean it. I think Tyler Toffoli is a guy like that. Now, I'm not sure New Jersey. Like I would imagine they still think they're in the hunt, but I don't know. I see Tyler Toffoli's name, and I think clutch goals.
Well, it would be seamless, and he was very good for the Canucks the first time around. So.
Been down that road once before, and of course, let's not discount Ilya Mikheyev's assist last night. He got on the score sheet, Frank.
It was a fine second assist.
Yes, it was a fine second assist.
I know. If I had a fine second assist, J-Pat would tweet about it.
I'm waiting for a goal. He's got to do more than just a second assist. Yeah. It's been far too long since Ilya Mikheyev put a puck in the net.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to have to submit to the relentless J-Pat post-game question.
Yeah.
Frankie, great fun here. Thanks for this, buddy. We'll catch up next week.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, everybody. If you're enjoying what you're seeing here, then follow along with Sekeres and Price on YouTube. I promise more content coming.
The kids call it subscribe on YouTube.
Well, how about liking it?
Do that as well. Smash it right now.